Hello everyone, and welcome to our third module, Citing Figures in Turabian Style. We will learn how to format and cite photographs, maps, tables, and other images in your research. For a review of how to create Turabian citations for other source formats, like books and journal articles, watch our Module 2 video. By the end of this module, you will be able to define figure, format figures and images in your own work, and create figure captions in Turabian style to appropriately attribute the work of others. Figure is a broad term used in Turabian style to describe images and illustrations you reference in your research. Figures can include photographs, maps, diagrams and drawings, tables and charts, as well as paintings, sculptures, and other works of art. Figures may be original images, reproductions printed in books and journals, or images accessed online via a website or a database. Like any other source we use, we cite figures to credit the work of others and to help readers understand our research. Scholarship is in conversation with other voices, and when we cite, we become a part of that larger conversation. In our last module, you learned how to create note and bibliography citations for books and journal articles. Turabian style recommends a different approach to citing figures. Instead of a note, you should create a caption to go along with each figure in your paper. And instead of citing figures in your bibliography, Turabian style recommends separating them into their own list. Ask your instructor about their preferences before you begin citing figures. You will need the following information to cite a figure in a caption. Think of this as the who, what, where, and when of your source. For the who, you will need the name of the person who created the figure. For the what, you will need the title of your figure. For the where, you will need the location of the figure. This could be a geographic place or a library that holds the figure. Or, in the case of a figure published in another source, the where can also refer to the name of that publication and its publisher name and location. And for the when, you will need the figure's date of creation, completion, or publication. For the figures you access online, also make note of the URL. In a moment, we will learn how to use this information to write a figure caption. But first, let's talk about how to format and name a figure within your paper. Assign a number to each figure you include in your paper. Number the figures sequentially. Name the first figure that appears in your paper Figure 1. Name the second figure Figure 2, and so on. When referring to a figure in the main body of your paper, identify it using this short name instead of writing a figure's full title. The word figure should be lowercase in your text. In parenthetical references, you may abbreviate it to FIG, or F-I-G period. Insert a figure directly after the paragraph that first mentions it, or just before the first mention. Let's use an example to visualize this. Here we have the end of a paragraph that reads, quote, Tokyo-based architects Sejima and Nishizawa designed the new museum, Figure 1, a dramatic 7-story structure in downtown Manhattan that resembles an asymmetrical stack of rectangular boxes, end quote. Notice how the parenthetical reference signals to the reader that there is a figure that illustrates this information. The image is referred to by the name the writer assigned to it, Figure 1. The figure itself, a photograph of the new museum in this case, is inserted immediately after the end of the paragraph that first references it. After you add a figure to your paper, write a caption. Let's learn how to write a figure caption in Turabian style. Every figure needs a caption written immediately below the figure. Figure captions should be single-spaced and left-aligned. Use the same font type and size as the main body of your paper. All captions should begin with figure, followed by the figure number and a period. Then write the title of the figure, followed by another period. If no title is given, you may create one that describes the image. Let's revisit our example to write a figure caption. Immediately below the image, identify the figure number, figure 1, period. Next, we write the figure title. No title was assigned to this image, so I created one myself. Exterior of the New Museum of Contemporary Art. Thinking back to the who, what, where, and when, those important pieces of information we need when we cite a source, this is the what, the figure title and the number you've assigned it in your paper. The next part of a figure caption is what we call the credit line, or a brief statement about the source of a figure. Turabian style does not specify a particular format for writing the credit line, but it's good practice to answer our remaining questions. The who, or the name of the author or creator. The when, which is the figure's date of creation, completion, or publication. The where, the location of the figure, such as a geographic place, a publication, or a repository. And the URL for figures accessed online. I found this image of the new museum through JSTOR, so let's walk through how we complete a figure caption for an image from a database. When saving figures to use in your research, make note of source information. Images in the library's databases include metadata, like creator name and date, useful for writing a figure caption with a credit line. With the information from the database, we can write the rest of the credit line for this figure caption. The database includes information about the architects who designed the building, as well as the photographer who took this photo. Since both this particular photograph and the building itself are important to my research, I'm going to credit all the creators in my caption. It's good practice to thoroughly attribute the work of others whenever possible, to both acknowledge their contributions and to help readers engaging with your research. I know the who. The building itself, the new museum, was designed by architects Sajima and Nishizawa, and this photograph was taken by Ralph Lieberman. I know the when. The building was commissioned in 2002 and opened in 2007, and this photograph was taken in 2008. I know the where. This building is in New York City. And I have a permanent URL to this image on JSTOR. Going back to our example, next let's define the who and the when. Start a new sentence to identify the first set of creators, the building's architects. Quote, designed by Sajima and Nishizawa. And then another new sentence to credit the photographer. Quote, photographed by Ralph Lieberman. After the who, make note of the when, or the date of creation or publication. After naming the architects, add a comma and write the date information provided by JSTOR. Commissioned 2002, opened 2007, period. After naming the photographer, add a comma and the date associated with the photograph. 2008, period. Next, identify the where, or the figure location, and for figures you accessed online, a permanent URL should be the final piece of information in the figure caption. In a new sentence, write the location information we have for this image, New York City, period. Then paste the URL, and you're done. Altogether, our complete figure caption, which names the figure and includes a credit line about its source, reads, Figure 1, exterior of the new Museum of Contemporary Art, designed by Sajima and Nishizawa, commissioned 2002, opened 2007, photographed by Ralph Lieberman, 2008, New York City, followed by the URL. Notice how this caption is single-spaced, left aligned, and immediately below the figure it describes. Now let's take a look at another example. Writing a figure caption for an image you find in a book, journal article, or other publication. Here we have a diagram of the atrium of the Museum of Modern Art, which is included in Professor Eric Jenkins' book, Drawn to Design. We begin our figure caption by identifying the what, or the figure number and title. The figure number I've assigned to this drawing, figure 2, period, and the title of this figure, Isometric Drawing of the Atrium of the Museum of Modern Art, New York City, period. Let's finish this caption by writing the credit line. I know the who. This drawing was created by Eric Jenkins, who also authored the book it appears in. I know a when. The book was published in 2013. And I know where the figure is made available. In Drawn to Design, published by De Gruyter in Basel, Switzerland, and this particular figure appears on page 143. I found this figure in a print copy of the book, so my credit line doesn't need a URL. Do include a permanent URL for figures from ebooks and other online publications. When writing your credit line, first identify the creator of the figure, or the who. Start a new sentence and write, Drawing by Eric J. Jenkins. The remainder of our credit line can resemble the note format for citing books. In general, when writing credit lines in your figure captions, you may default to the source's recommended note format if you're unsure of the best way to credit a figure. I know this figure is located in Drawn to Design, Analyzing Architecture Through Freehand Drawing, which was published in, open parentheses, Basel, Switzerland, by De Gruyter, comma, when? In 2013, close parentheses, comma, on page 143. Here is our complete figure caption again without the color coding. Let's see some examples of figure captions for other images we may use and cite in our research. Pause the video to review the caption as needed. An image from a website, such as this photograph made available for reuse with a Creative Commons license on Flickr. A figure caption for a map. A figure caption for a table or chart found in another publication. All figures should be identified and credited in a figure caption, including figures that are your own, such as personal drawings or photos. Scholarship is in conversation with other voices, and citations acknowledge and share other people's contributions. By crediting our own contributions, we become a part of that larger conversation. Here's an example of how to credit your own work in a figure caption. As you use figures in your research, create a running list of these images and where they appear in your paper. Rather than citing figures in your bibliography, Turabian style recommends a separate list of figures. This list usually follows the table of contents but precedes the main body of your paper. Before creating a list of figures, check with your instructor to ensure you're following the citation expectations for your class. Title this list Figures or Illustrations. List all figures in the order they appear in your paper. Include the number you assign to the figure, its title, and the page number on which it appears in your paper. It's important to note that a list of figures is not meant to replace figure captions. All figures included in your paper must also be named and credited within the caption on the page that they first appear. Here's an example of how we format a list of figures. On the left side of the page, we have a list of figure numbers we assign to these images, followed by the figure title. The page number on which the figure appears is indicated on the right side of the page. All individual list items should be single-spaced. Leave a blank line between each list item. We've reached the end of our module. Thank you so much for your participation, and the best of luck to you as you use and cite figures in your research.